Now, what is up, everybody? My name is Mike Brown, aka ReviewKingMB, and I am here to talk about and review Blade. Blade is a Marvel film that came out in 1998. It was directed by Stephen Norrington, and the plot is we meet Blade, who's played by Wesley Snipes. He is a half-breed vampire, meaning he's half human, half vampire. He goes out there and hunts vampires, as many as he can, because he hates them. And of course, along the way, he meets this nurse, Karen. He's sort of protecting her from vampires. He's basically just trying to save the world, save as many people as he can from these vampires. One, Deacon Frost in particular. Now, what I think of Blade is I really enjoy this movie. I do. It's so much fun. It's so good. Even going back and rewatching this, because I have watched this movie so many times. But rewatching it now, even after the influx of superhero movies, even after all of the Marvel movies we've gotten since then, there's so many good things, there's so many good reasons why this movie should be more respected, more talked about, more revered, regarded as one of the better Marvel films, especially early on. We're talking about, this is Marvel's second ever movie behind Howard the Duck. This came out 1 year after Batman and Robin. Wow. Literally, superhero movies were about to die, and then this movie came along and not only took the genre seriously, not only gave some new credibility to it. It was rated R, it was edgy, it was the 90s. It was Wesley Snipes being a badass. Like, he's so good as this Blade character. The opening scene, his introduction, where you see this guy get lured to a raid, a blood raid, by Tracy Lords, of all people, and you see it's raining blood by the sprinklers, and you see that they're all vampires, they're about to eat him, and then Blade shows up and just kicks everyone's ass. Awesome fight scene. And I love when he kills the vampires, that effect of them turning into bones and ash. Like, yeah, maybe it's a little dated with the CGI, but it's still such a cool effect that I don't even care. Wesley Snipes plays Blade in such an interesting way because for the most part, he's serious. For the most part, he is stoic. He has that presence. He has such a cool look to him with the long leather jacket and the sunglasses, and he's a badass. And then you have other moments where he shows personality, where he has charisma. Like the one scene where the cops shoot at him and he says, "What the fuck, are you out of your damn mind?" That's Wesley Snipes just being himself. He probably improvised that and said, I just want to do this because why not? And those little moments almost take you by surprise and you go, whoa, wow, Blade has a personality here. I like seeing his backstory about what happened to his mom, how she was killed by a vampire, and that's how he was turned. Him and Chris Christopherson as Whistler. I really like that relationship as well because it's very, like, strict. He obviously looks at Whistler as a father figure, but it's like they'll never say that out loud. They want to have a certain level of emotional cutoff because in this business, anything can happen. People can die. You don't want to get too attached in those ways. Like, I like those moments. I like that understanding between the two. And the gadgets that Whistler creates for him. The medicine that Blade has to take in order to keep his thirst down. Like this character Karen, who's played by Numbush Wright. I probably said her first name wrong. I apologize. But this actress is really good. This character is really interesting. She is just a civilian, a doctor who gets thrown into the vampire mess, and she gets saved by Blade. But in any other movie, she would be the love interest. She would be the woman who Blade would fall in love with. Why? Just because. And I love that this movie doesn't do that. I love that this movie is like, no, he saved her because that's in his blood. Like, he just wants to save people. There's another scene where he saves a little girl from Steven Dorff. Like, that's just who he is. There was never really any romantic chemistry between them, there wasn't supposed to be. They just had an understanding. Stephen Dorff, like I said, he's the villain. He plays Deacon Frost. And Stephen Dorff, I guess it's because it's the 90s, he has a certain edgy coolness to him, just a cool look where he's evil when he has to be, but he also has his way of thinking, and it's almost like, well, if I was a vampire, if I was bitten and turned like him, I probably would have these thoughts. I probably would go to these levels, as much as you don't want to admit it. His whole plan is what else? He wants to take over the world and use humans as just food and harvest them and just feed off of them and take over. Makes sense. But he also wants to introduce this blood god, which originally the ending of this movie was very different, where the blood god showed up as just this CGI blood gooey thing, and the deleted scenes are on this DVD, and it does not look great. So luckily the studio had enough forethought to go back, reshoot it, redo the ending where you see an actual fight scene between the two of them. Another villain that has more interaction with Blade than Stephen Dorff does, hard to believe, Donald Logue plays Quinn, and he's like the right-hand man. He's the guy who goes out there and does the dirty work, but he has so many kind of comical, he's a screw-up, but it's still interesting to see how many times he gets his arm cut off by Blade, or how many times he goes out there and just is like a gnat. He's like an annoying fly that won't go away. Sanaa Lathan, I should mention her because she plays Blade's mom. And I'm not going to go too much into like what her character, like what goes on with her. I mean, it's an old enough movie to where I should be able to talk about it, but it was a surprise. Like when I first saw this movie, I was pretty young when I first saw it, but still, it's one of those, what? Obviously, I really enjoy Blade. I love the fact that it feels like the 90s when I watch it. The music, the way it's shot, the tone, the fun atmosphere to it. And I love this movie. I respect this movie just for the simple fact of kind of saving superhero movies, of bringing just this new eyes to the genre, seeing what it could become. Obviously, X-Men and Spider-Man was the big blockbuster levels of superhero movies, and that's really got the ball rolling. But you can't forget what Blade did. Blade is one of the first. Blade is one of the pioneers, especially for Marvel. So guys, let me know in the comments below if you've seen Blade, if you like Blade, if you love Blade, what do you think of it? Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Later!
Got a goal in mind, can't stop till I reach that the gold is mine. No feet up, seat back, music, I breathe that, sleep that, eat that, ease back is pretty close, leading the pack. Cause it is like snacks, a little to hold you over light work to me, but opponents under a bulldog.